I'm old enough to see a true degradation of principles,
Principles,
of
morals. Yeah.
yeah, everything's collapsing.
Yes.
Um, Everything's a mess. People are disturbed. People are not mentally sane for the most part. And I don't think people realize that. People are living in the moment and watching the news and reacting, but not thinking in a low time frame about the future, about their
Yes.
kids, about how they want society to be.
Yeah.
Democracy is going really bad. It has to collapse somehow. And the more people we can take into this bright orange future, this other reality, a more sane reality, back to first principles, back
Yeah.
to family life. I'm just worried about my family. Let's take it back to reality.
Yeah.
Less TikTok, more family life.
Yes.
Take all that noise out of people's brains,
Yeah.
and let's try and communicate better. And what better tool to communicate than an information technology like Bitcoin? That's all. That's the only thing we need. A fair equalizer for the world that doesn't extract value from people's lives and let them lead their families and community lives, in a more proper way.
Hello, Andre. Thanks for joining me on an episode of You're the Voice.
Hello, Efrat.
How are
Good to
you?
be here. I'm good.
Good.
I'm very good.
Well, good to have
In
you. I'm sure you're
Madeira, good
tired.
weather. Oh, it's getting crazy by the day. It's 2 weeks to go, but everything's set up. But this is the it's actually where everything starts to happen. All the months of preparation led to this 2 weeks now of full craziness, putting putting everything up. But yeah, it's looking really good.
You're in crunch time. You're definitely in crunch time now.
Yes.
So yeah, it's hard, and I wish you good luck in the next 2 weeks because it's going to be even more
I
difficult
did.
as you
I
go.
needed a little bit. Yes.
Let's start with a quick intro. So, André Loja, a serial entrepreneur, father of four, and the visionary behind the upcoming Bitcoin Atlantis conference just around the corner, where I have the pleasure of participating as a speaker. So, thanks for having me. Me and another 160 people.
I
What?
think
How
it's
many
more
speakers?
now.
More.
I don't know the last count honestly, but I think it's over 180 now, more or
Far out.
less. Plus the other people that are helping in the workshop areas, Ellen Bits, Maker Bits. We'll discuss all of that, I guess.
We'll discuss all of them. So wait with that. So not only that Andre is the force behind this groundbreaking event, but Andre is also the driving force behind the Free Madeira initiative. As a dedicated Bitcoiner and publisher translator of Bitcoin literature, he took on the extraordinary mission of orange pilling the president of the beautiful Portuguese island of Madeira about a year and a half ago, which is where Andre lives, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything that I've missed about your background? Can you share more?
No. Well, I'm at least from my after orange peeling, I guess. But yeah, we are very fortunate right now to have all of this happening here. It wasn't only me, of course. There was a lot of a series of little things that happened in the last few years that were that made this happen, and I was very fortunate that little series of small things led to this huge conference that is taking place now in 2 weeks. That I think it's the epitome of everything that we're working for here at Free Madeira, and let distinction on both entities. So Bitcoin Atlantis is organized by Free Madeira, which is a non-profit in the base of this all, right? That with the big aim of adoption and education of Bitcoin here in our archipelago. Madeira is comprised of 2 islands, and Free Madeira is a long-term project. we aim to help with the education of everyone around us, from business to individuals to public entities, lobbying the government, influencing as much as you can on this new amazing open source technology that we truly believe in. Um,
So when let me stop you here for a second. When did you get into Bitcoin and why?
well, I did the usual path. I started getting interested in crypto at the time, and I was, you know, badly influenced by the narratives of those who know less as anyone else at the time. I remember, I don't know exactly, but 2016, 2017, and I started getting into all those narratives about smart computers and ICOs and all that stupid stuff. So I paid my tuition, as we usually say, to come out on the other end, a complete Bitcoin maxi, and getting rid of all the nonsense. And
When you say
fortunately,
nonsense, you're talking about other crypto coins, just so people understand.
yes, yes, because in the end, when you truly understand it, then you dig deep. You understand that it's all noise. There's no value at all on 99.9% of those crypto projects. And people say that you get into Bitcoin because number go up technology, because it's getting up in value and you want to make some money and whatever. But when you truly understand it, actually that mindset goes away, and you understand that it's this amazing open source technology that was discovered for the good of humanity, and your mindset changes completely.
Yep.
I'm not the same person I was a few years ago at
Yep.
all.
Yep.
And nowadays, I don't even care about the price of Bitcoin. Usually,
Yes.
of course, you follow it. You're interested. It's part of the success of the network, of the technology, and so on. It's almost like a measuring stick, I guess, for what's happening in the network.
Yes.
But that's not the most important at all.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm a better person now, or I truly believe I'm a better person now, because now I'm truly focused on trying to be better for my family, for my community, for my island, especially. That's why we did Free Madeira in the end. I have 4 kids, as you mentioned, and as Greg Foss put it, it's for the kids, and it is. In fact, it is, because
It
when you
is.
truly understand what's happening here, you start fighting for them and for a better world, for a better future for everyone.
Yeah. And in the age where they get it, you also explain it to them. I explained it to my son. He got it. And now he's got a Trezor wallet. And now he's asking me to send him money all the time. So not sure I've done the right thing, but I want to see my money grows. That's what he cares about now. But
But that's good, like the
yeah,
the savings. How shall I put it? Even my little kids, my oldest one is 9, my youngest is 4. They are all in a row.
yeah,
Now, of course, because I'm addicted, right? Bitcoin infects your mind, so it's all over me and my family and everything that surrounds me. So they know, and they're always, making fun. I go on the car listening to podcasts, right?
yeah,
And they are like, oh, I don't know, they only hear the English words and Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And they
yes,
go over the school saying, they have a wallet, and they're saving for their future. So it's a very nice mindset for themselves as well, and the good positioning for them, instead of just
absolutely.
spending money on sweets.
Exactly. And it's unusual for kids to talk like that or think like that, which is
Yeah,
very cool. I think in
it's
the conference you're going to have something for families and kids as well, right?
absolutely, being a father of 4 and traveling to other conferences as I did in the past, we immediately wanted, when we were designing what we wanted to do and make of this conference, we decided from the start to make it almost like a vacation to Madeira. It's already a very good destination, already a great place to visit anyway.
Yep.
So we decided, we are in the middle of the Atlantic. It's not the easiest place to get to, although we have a lot of connections to all over Europe and even the United States and so on. But It's not like a major city in the middle of Europe, for
Yeah.
example. So we decided, well, let's make it not only very very interesting, of course, on the technical part and the conversations and everything, but let's try to make it um, a bigger bouquet and offer a lot of satellite events, interesting stuff for the families. Bring the wives, bring the kids, make it family friendly. And I think we did it. I think it's so good to see a lot of people are saying they're going to bring the wives for the first time, the kids. We created a kids block, as we call it, so an area inside the venue just for kids.
What are they
Uh,
gonna do there?
oh, many, many things. And we had the help of great people. Like it's separated in two areas, one for 1 to 6 years old and from 6 to 16. One from six, of course, it's more toddler activities. They're gonna have face paintings, games, stories, the
Yeah.
sorts. Uh, Fathers and mothers can leave the kid for a bit to watch a conversation. There will be nannies there. They can come in, of course, and play with them, and of course, Bitcoin-related paintings and all the sorts. Um, and on the more older area, it's a full schedule. They have a
Really?
stage.
Of
They have a
content
stage
for
of its own. Yeah, they have a
wow.
stage of its own. We had great help from a lot of people. Frankie, Scott and Mallory from Shamory, Bitcoin, its wife, Nathan Day, Daniel Prince, and the kids. So Coach Carbon, and they're gonna have the stage. They're gonna have workshops, chocolate workshops, lightning piggies. Guys are gonna be here. They kind of have a lot of physical activities and games, and there's tennis, table tennis, football, a lot of games with balls, and they have a lot of activities there for the kids, which is going to be amazing.
Super. Okay, so I'm taking you back before we touch more on the conference. We'll come back to it. Take me to Madeira in general. What does it mean that Madeira today is supporting Bitcoin? I know you started this process with the president about a year and a half ago. And I know it's quite different from El Salvador, for example. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about what it means and what does it look like in the day to day in Madeira when merchants or businesses are
Yeah,
accepting Bitcoin.
this is very interesting to clear because there was a lot of confusion since the
Hmm.
moment the president went to Miami in I think in 22, and they made the announcement that Madeira was adopting Bitcoin, which is actually the wrong wording. A lot of people thought we were adopting as a legal tender, which
Legal
is just
tender, right?
not possible at all.
Right.
What he meant was adopting in the embracing kind of way, like I support the initiative.
Yes.
But let's make it clear: I think the president understands, and it's part of a overall strategy for Madeira itself that I'll explain. But Free Madeira is an independent organization. We are a non-profit, apolitical. We are not connected to the government. We don't have government funding, not at all. We are supported by the sponsors, by the donations, by the community, and we are a bottoms-up initiative for the education of Bitcoin overall. Of course, Bitcoin
Yes.
touches a lot of stuff, and from energy to education to remittances to businesses to. So we are working on a lot of different things in that area. But in the end, we are an independent organization. But we appreciate the support, of course. It's better to have the support
Of
and
course.
people in the positions of power that understand that this is an important technology to support than not. It would be another fight. And every jurisdiction has its own trade-offs as well. We are in Europe. We are a community entity in Europe.
Yes.
So we are a semi-autonomous region of Portugal. What this means is we have our own president and our own government, but we are not fully independent. We have a connection to the Portuguese government and a lot of strict rules on what we can do and what we cannot do. And of course, the big matters, we don't have a lot of power, like taxes and definitely legal tender, defense, stuff like that, like the major nationality.
Yeah.
So we decide on we have a lot of leeway to create our own regulations in a lot of like education, all the other areas. But there's a very strict rules on what we can and cannot do. So it was never really on the equation that Bitcoin was going to be legal tender here in Madeira, not at all. And the president sees it more. So Madeira was it is very touristic still. A big part of the economy is supported on the tourism sector. And especially after COVID, I think the president and the government overall understood that it would be, you know, smart not to diversify a little bit of the economy of Madeira, not be so dependent on tourism.
Yep.
So they started betting big on supporting startups, you know, new technologies, you know, from every part of the economy, not only cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
I always give the same examples. They created a cluster for sea-related startups, for example. We are surrounded by sea. It made sense, so they created a cluster. They're inviting startups to do their work here, so they're supporting it. They did. We have the International Business Center that also serves as support because there are some tax advantages and so on to incorporate the businesses here.
Hmm.
They are creating the new hospital, and there will be a whole section for science-related startups as well on health related technologies, and the president sees that as another harm of that strategy.
Yeah.
He sees Bitcoin as as I was saying before we started. He has a saying that I really like: "You cannot stop wind with your fingers." So this is happening. The new generations are using it. There's no, we should embrace it. We should understand it. We should support it. So, and in our view, that's great. That's already great in itself that he understands that. I don't think he's fully orange pilled. No time for that as well. But he understands that Madeira needs to be in the forefront of this adoption. And so he appreciates the effort and he supports us, which is great.
Which is great. And if we know that Bitcoin is a grassroots movement and more people in Madeira will learn about it through Free Madeira and through the conference and through the willingness of the government, then, more people will use it, adopt it, and then it will become a reality more and
Yes.
more.
And
So
that's
I
the
think
goal.
that's a
One by
perfect
one.
path to take. Exactly. That's the path. It will be, I think it will be the path in most countries because most countries are not going to go the El Salvador way,
Absolutely.
right? Most, I don't know of many politicians that will be embracing a new currency as a legal tender that is out of their control. It's a very
Yes.
unique case in El
And
Salvador.
it's actually part of the ethos, right? I don't
Yeah.
even, although I love what Bukele is doing, right? He led by example. He was very brave in doing it.
Yeah.
But in the end, we are, as a libertarian myself and admirer of the free markets that are more efficient than a lot of the socialism that we see around us nowadays. I believe that the best money should win on a free market. So let the market decide. Let's
Yes.
not impose from the top down. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Robert Bridlove was telling me the same thing when I had a chat with him. He said, I'm definitely all for countries adopting Bitcoin, but I'm not in favor of legal tenders in the concept of it because we
Yes.
shouldn't be coercing people
Exactly.
to use a certain currency, just like we don't want to coerce anything else on them.
Yeah.
We want to give them the freedom to choose.
In a way, you can even argue that it wasn't good in a way because it's part of the central decision and enforcing that we are fighting.
Yes.
Although the
Yes.
decision was in our favor and we like it, it's
Yeah.
not like the ethos is not good. That it's not the way to do it.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. So yeah, let the best currency win, right?
Yes,
Let the best
exactly.
money win. Okay, so okay, we talked a bit about free Madeira. Let's talk about CBDC, the central bank digital currencies. We know that the European Central Bank is preparing to roll out CBDC in Europe. Christine Lagarde, the head of the ECB, is coming out every few weeks and updating us on their progress, which is going very well, obviously, according to their plans. And they're getting more and more advanced with it. Lately, I've seen a white paper from the German government about the technical requirements, product requirements of CBDC. They're in real advanced stages of, I think they all have the systems in place already. They're just waiting for the right excuse to launch them. They may create this excuse. This excuse may be created naturally and organically, who knows? But it's happening, that's for sure. And in a place where we have Bitcoin already adopted by some of the uh, population, some of the public, do you think that the introduction of CBDCs is going to be a competition for them? Do you think they're going to get it like in a place like Madeira, where there is already some awareness for Bitcoin or for different money? Do you think they're going to understand the difference between CBDC or the digital euro that's coming up and Bitcoin? That's from the public point of view. And from the government point of view, do you think your president is then going to reject Bitcoin when that happens?
I don't have answers for you, straight answers for you. It's really hard. Honestly, I haven't been following actually those developments of the CBDCs. Of course, we know about it. I think I know more about that from the memes on Twitter than anything else. Um, I'm not. I think they'll do what they'll do, right? I'm very much of the positive mind that Bitcoiners have. I'm building my own reality, and I am. Of course, we are biased in our perspective.
Yeah.
I believe I'm doing good, and the community here believes it's doing good for those around us that still don't get it. That's one
Mhm.
of our goals, right? Um, and we are building it, and we think that one by one, the most people that we can bring in and protect in a way from those things that will happen, the better. Um, as far as let's make it real. Let's be real. The president here has limited powers on that. He's under the main Portuguese government, and especially under the
The
EU and the
EU.
bureaucrats of Brussels.
Yeah.
So if they really want to enforce something all over Europe, they will. If the president is going to reject Bitcoin, well, if it does happen, that I don't know, let him do it.
Yeah.
They are not People are not going to stop using it because of that. That's one of the things they don't really understand. That's one of the big problems with this all enforcing of this new technology, that they don't really understand that they cannot stop it. They can
Exactly.
they can slow it down, I guess, with a lot of of course, let's go hardcore,
Limitations. Yeah.
what's the name, going penal and
Restrictions.
enforcing and fines and
Yeah.
you know
Mandates, restrictions,
but
whatever.
in the end, I can still use in a way that they don't really understand it on a peer-to-peer basis with everyone I want around me and around the world. So it's just, again, the president. You cannot stop wind with your hands, and they are trying with one finger. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Love it.
And there are some things that you can just laugh honestly, and and move on,
Yeah.
and keep building, because it'll be what it'll be. We'll be here to do our own thing, and of course we don't want to do anything illegal. We are a public entity, and now I'm talking about Frimadar, of course. So we will have to comply with the business rules and whatever. But that doesn't mean we are not an education, agency in the end. They
Yeah.
they're not gonna put us in jail for educating people, right? So so do what they do. I really, I'm gonna be a bit hardcore. I really don't care.
Good.
We're doing our
Good.
own thing.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. When once people get Bitcoin, it's coming. There's nothing we can do to stop it, and we can just work on preparing ourselves best as possible by moving to other systems, building our own systems,
Yep.
you know? We don't
And
need to
again, we
fight
can
so
we can
hard.
go even. I know your audience is not the most hardcore understanding the technicalities of
Some of them
Bitcoin,
aren't, right? Yes.
but we can go even like if you want to go really hardcore, Bitcoin is just information. How are
Yeah.
they gonna stop information? It
Yeah,
doesn't make
exactly.
any sense at all. I
Yeah.
can bring Bitcoin in my head wherever I go. And as Knut puts it, we are our own Bitcoin, which is really, really interesting and mind blowing for those who don't understand. But it's true. And I can keep Bitcoin in me because it's just information. I can access my Bitcoin with just information.
True.
That's truly unstoppable. And they don't understand the technology. And honestly, I think the legislators, and even I'm putting away that they're doing this by malice, just by
Yes.
ignorance.
Yes. Okay.
They don't understand it. Maybe one day, it's a long term thing. It's not going to happen from one day to the other.
Yep. And people should start learning about it if they aren't. But after listening to my podcast for so many episodes, I'm sure they are already looking into Bitcoin. It's not possible that they aren't. My last two episodes, by the way, were with Max and Stacy, and before that with Robert Bridlove. So,
So
hard. If you continue listening, it means,
much, much better speakers than I am,
oh,
and
shut up. Shut up. Okay, let's talk about the conference, about Bitcoin Atlantis. So, you said more than 180 maybe speakers, 5,000 people are going to come, right?
well, we don't know if we're going to get to 5,000. That was a big aim, but we're going to have thousands for sure.
A few thousand, which
A
is
few thousand.
amazing. It's amazing. It's a very big conference, and it's kind of a weekly festival starting March 1st to March 3rd, but the days before and after, with a lot of satellite events,
Yes.
basically running the whole week. And
Oh, so many good things.
the conference itself is 3 days, right?
Yes.
And by the way, if you want to still get a ticket, you can on the website, and you can use my 10% discount code, EFRAT. I checked, it's working. You can go to the website and buy a ticket. And
Don't trust, verify.
no, I mean, but you you can meet me if you want to come, but you can also meet amazing freedom lovers and Bitcoiners there. The people are just amazing. So, what was the first inspiration for the conference, Andre?
Well, it actually starts as everything in my life. It just has just to do with this crazy idea that then evolved into this monster. um, we have a great advisory board
It's
at
a pattern
Primavera.
with you that small
Yeah,
things start and then become monsters.
well, it's a pattern with me to just evolve my ideas quickly and grandiosely, as my wife would. It's crazy about.
I love it.
But we have an amazing advisory board at Primavera. People like Jeff Booth and Samson Mao and Gigi and Max Silverbrand, you name it. So many. Knut, Daniel, Greg Foss, Larry Leopard, Troy Cross, many people helping us and advising us. It's great. And at one point, we started the Free Better project. And at one point, we were having a weekly meeting, and I dropped the idea of doing a conference here. But in my head, it would be something really small. I was just hoping to get the advisory board over to continue with the conversations with government, public entities, private stakeholders, the energy company, keep the movement. But then, because of that advisory board, some big names started confirming. And at one point, I'm not the kind of guy to do something lighter. So if my God, now we have Jack Dorsey and Michael Saylor confirmed. This is a great opportunity. So let's go big. Let's do it properly. So that's when I decided, okay, let's go all in. Let's do this. Let's try to make the best conference that we can. And it all started, like a snowball, growing, and now we have this amazing week with I would say even more than 200 speakers, because you have to include the workshop guys and
Yeah.
everything that's happening. And yeah, we got it on a stadium. It's an amazing.
It's a
I think
soccer
you're gonna
stadium? What
you're
is a
gonna
sports
find it.
stadium? Oh my god, look at that.
You're gonna find you're gonna
Shit.
find this in the website.
I'm
Very.
gonna start getting stomach aches for I'm speaking there. Oh fuck.
We have a main stage in the pitch facing the sittings of the stadium, and then everything happens around on a big ring outside the stadium.
Wow.
We have an open source stage. We have a book corner with a stage of its own. Author talks, book signings. art gallery curated by Fractal Encrypt, full of great things. He's going to show up his latest sculpture here.
Wow.
We have an exhibition hall that inside the exhibition hall, there are 3 different rooms. One of them is managed by My First Bitcoin, Looking Glass, and Amity Age, with a full schedule of workshops, learning classes, everything. There's one room managed by BTC Sessions,
Yep.
full of workshops as well. Fed
Yes.
is doing some workshops as well. We're going to have the Federation set up for every attendee. We have an Ellen Bits Maker Bits room as well for more hackerspace kind of thing, managed by Benark. We're going to have the Seed Signer, Seed Hammer guys with us as well. I mentioned the kids block. We're going to have the gaming lounge, the Atlantic Bazaar, the food court with great food as well, and foods and drinks, and Madeira wine and white wine
Wow.
from Madeira, and great things. We're going to have the Wolf Lounge for the VIPs with a bar of its own as well, and the Pleb Lounge and the commentary booth and the lightning and the photo booth, and there's so many things happening on the venue.
Music?
Music, especially on the satellite events. So we created a lot of satellite events. It all starts with on Wednesday, the 27th, with the golf tournament in Santa Serra Golf Course, which is amazing above the clouds with great views.
Wow.
And then there's a lot of events also by different partners, like My First Bitcoin is doing a whole day of an conference. That's on the 29th. We have Bitbox doing stuff. We are Trezor doing stuff. And this is different, different
Yes, yes,
stuff
yes.
happening all around.
The
But more related,
women's network as well. I'm going there.
the women's branch
Yes.
will happen on the 29th as well in the
Yes.
morning.
Yes.
We have the Welcome to Bitcoin. That's a full day, 100% in Portuguese on a different venue for
Hmm.
those who are starting.
Okay.
It's being managed by the community, the Aseta Bitcoin and 21 Portuguese community. And it's a full day of schedule and workshops on the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
We have on the 29th as well the Rise of Atlantis, which is a VC pitch for startups with a
Oh,
big set of judges. It's
great.
being managed by Martel Fox from Layer for Talent. We have parties, a lot of parties going on. So on the 29th, there will already be the first party with Valerie Love and DJ Rotzol on Bitcoin Bar Cafe, as we were calling it. We have the speakers reception as well on the 29th. And then the big event starts on the 1st, of course. So a
Yep.
full day of programming on all the stages. And at night, we have the special meetup in Nini Design Center, which is going to be amazing as well. A very cool location and a big party. We'll have Roger 9000 and Satoshi Nakamoto, where a few Bitcoiners will rock some tunes there. It's going to be great as well. And then on the 2nd, at night, we have the big thing for us. At least I think it's the best satellite event we have, which is the music festival, the Atlas Music Festival, on Quinta Magnoli, which is a beautiful park by the main venue. And it's just basically a very cool place to be, where there's going to be food and drinks as well, and an amazing headline by Theo Katzman, this amazing artist from the States that is part of Wolfpack, and it's going to be a great time.
Any favorite
And
sessions that you have?
any
I mean,
favorite?
favorite sessions. I mean, a panel or a talk or anything
Oh,
that that
it's
you want to
hard.
recommend people to.
We're gonna publish the agenda this
Hmm.
weekend,
Hmm.
Monday at the most. It was very hard to fit everything, so
Yeah,
apologizes that we're putting it last minute, 15 days to go, but it is what it is. And you're gonna see, it's really hard to pick one because there are so many talks in 3 days in 3 different stages. It's crazy. I think the worst thing is people won't be able to see everything at the same time.
for sure.
But it doesn't stop there. On Sunday, we have the Mega Pleb dinner,
Yes,
also to close it up, that we're
yes.
going to have the famous espetada, the meat on skewer. It's going to be great as well. And it doesn't stop on the 4th, on Monday. We still have the Atlantic Football Cup by Coach Carbon. It's more for families and kids. It's going to be really cool. And it starts with a lot. Oh, on the mornings of the event, there's also the Alfini Seaside Run every morning. And on the 4th, we have the Pleb Walk and the Alfini Mountain Run as well. And the boat trip
The
and
web
the
walk
and the
is a
oh
hike.
and the film festival. We have a film festival on Monday. I don't think people will have to come prepared and energized to be everywhere at the same time.
Wow. Wow. We need to work on quantum physics techniques in
Yes,
order to multiply to different places at the same time.
maybe Jeff Booth can help there. They
Yeah,
have on the last
I'm gonna interview him. I'll ask him that.
on the last block, which on the main stage we divided the programming in different blocks. Great people helping us. It starts with the press and pitch block, intro to Bitcoin. That's on the website already. Go there and check it out. And then Daniel Priest is managing one of the blocks as well. We have Alex Gladson managing another block, Troy Cross with the energy block, myself with Madeira block, and Jeff Booth to finalize with the hyper Bitcoinization block, or how the world could look on the other side.
Yeah,
And they will have amazing conversations there.
I'm
And
sure.
I think they'll maybe talk about quantum there.
Yes, I won't be surprised.
Probably.
Yes, probably. Okay, amazing. Can people use their Bitcoin in the conference?
Absolutely. So
Lightning?
yes, of course. Every attendee will have a Bolt card on the goodie bag at
Uh-huh.
entrance,
Yes.
and they can use the Bolt card basically as a cashless system for payments inside the venue. All the vendors will accept Lightning payments, all of them. We have our own Bitcoinized POS machines. Actually, I can show you.
So is it,
Yes,
yeah, show
I
me.
can show it off.
Amazing.
Uh,
Yes, I love it. So it's like a
Everyone will have a
chargeable card.
card. Yes,
I
you're
charge it
gonna
through my wallet.
through your wallet, or we're gonna have a place inside the venue where you can go and top it up.
Mm-hmm.
And but you can use fiat as well if you want to, but we prefer this. Yeah,
Yeah, we like
this is
this.
much better.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have an ATM machine as well with Lightning, so you can charge, withdraw, just play around with it. And on the Atlas Music Festival, also on the satellite events, also you can pay with Lightning. So everywhere.
Amazing. Buy food, drinks. Love it.
If I
You
think people
feel
will
what it's gonna be
complain. I
like
think
in the
people will
new world.
complain that we're ruining their sat stack during this week.
Yes,
But
for sure.
spend and replace, guys.
But you
Spend
know,
and
those
replace.
are the things that I'm willing to use my sats on.
Yeah.
If I'm going to a conference and I'm helping the all the different vendors to make a living, and with those bitcoins, for sure, bring it on. Okay, so last question. Since I joined the Bitcoin community, I find on the most part that people are very friendly, very welcoming, very helpful, which is not very common in every community that I've been a part of. And I've been in tech for 20 years, like you. I was an entrepreneur, but I was a marketeer and chief marketing officer. So I've worked with many entrepreneurs and startups and a lot of people in different communities. But this community feels different to me. And I'm interested to hear from you your view about the Bitcoin community. What do you think is different from other communities around the world, and why is it so?
That's a good question. And actually, all of this happened in my life because of that. Exactly.
Because of the
Uh,
community.
yeah, because
Wow.
people were so friendly and helpful. Um, you mentioned in the beginning that I started with publishing,
Yes.
and those little steps that I started in publishing because I wanted to translate the best Bitcoin books to Portuguese. And this all started because I sent a Twitter message. This guy from nowhere, from an island in the middle of the Atlantic that knew nobody, sent a message to Jeff Booth asking if I could translate his book to Portuguese because his book is amazing, as we all know. And he said yes. Of course, why not? And that was the beginning, the little step that grew into this a lot of steps because there started the relationships. I started meeting Jeff, Daniel, Samson, other people around the community, and then when the president came, we already knew them, and it was a series of steps and chain events that led to this. But at every point in time, from the biggest, most deep influencer of all to the smallest pleb somewhere,
Yep.
they were all, sorry for cursing, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
We'll help. We'll do it. We'll do it. So, and that was amazing. When the community sees that you're doing something good,
Hmm.
they come out and help you, asking nothing in return. It's amazing to see. It's nothing I ever saw experienced before, honestly.
And I experienced the same thing. Everyone's speaking to me at the eye level. They don't know me. I approach them. They're like, "Sure, bring it on, and let's do stuff together." And I'm so surprised, which is really amazing because it's taking me all over the world before I know it. Like this whole year, 2024, I'm going to be in so many different places around the world because of great people. Like,
I
for
guess you
example,
didn't imagine you were going to Madeira 1 year ago.
no, and Alex Svetsky was like, "You gotta come to Madeira," and he made
Of
the
course.
connection between us. And then Mark Moss with El Salvador, and Max and Stacy, and like everyone is, it's all happening, and it's just unreal. I'm seriously shocked about how friendly people are.
You
It's
can imagine
unusual.
now
Why do
I'm
you think that is? Because of the adoption of Bitcoin, everyone wants this to
yeah,
succeed.
I think so. It's a simple thing. As soon as you understand it, when there's that really big light bulb moment in your head,
Yes.
and it's not about the money and no, well, not about making money anymore, and it's all about making a better world, because it seems not
Yeah.
niche or naive to say it, but it truly, you then suddenly your mindset changes a lot, and you just want to contribute the most as you can. And when you see other people around you with the same mindset, let's go, let's do this, let's, we're all working to make the same reality happen faster, I
Faster.
guess.
Yes.
Although it's a long process still, but
Mhm.
we're all working with a low time frame to make it happen and a reality. So
I love it. Thank
it's
you.
beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's so heartwarming. I'm just always so grateful for meeting all these people and being around such incredible visionaries. Like everyone has the same vision, and it's not a tomorrow morning thing, it's a long term thing, and it
Yes,
can really
absolutely.
change things in the world. And we know how fucked up our world is. So
And
it's
getting
just,
crazier by the day.
yeah, where I come from, it's, you can feel the shit show every day, all day. It's
Well, that
unbelievable.
I'm not gonna put up to your standard, because we know our things are there. But even around us, even around me, and people, in Europe, people are in Europe and in the United States, on the Western worlds, right? People are
Yeah.
a bit spoiled and privileged
Yes.
because they think they are, separated from all that mess. But
Yes.
even around me, I'm not an old guy. I'm 43 years old, but I'm old enough to see a true degradation. How shall I put it? Principles
Principles.
of
Morals. Yeah.
yeah, everything's collapsing.
Yes.
Um, Everything's a mess. People are disturbed. People are not mentally sane for the most part. And I don't think people realize that. People are living in the moment and watching the news and reacting,
Yes.
but not thinking in a low time frame about the future, about their
Yes.
kids, about how they want society to be.
Yeah.
Democracy is going really bad. More sane reality, back to first principles, back
Yeah.
to family life, back. I don't want to sound too right wing or conservatory or whatever you call it in English. I don't know.
We don't care about labels so much.
Yeah, we don't. I'm just worried about my family. Let's take it back to reality.
Yeah.
Less TikTok, more family life. Bring it down. I
Yes.
take all that noise out of people's brains,
Yeah.
and let's try and communicate better. And what better tool to communicate than an information technology like Bitcoin? That's all. That's the only thing we need. A fair equalizer for the world that doesn't extract value from people's lives and let them lead their families and community lives, in a more proper way.
1000% right. Everything you said is spot on. And people here and in many other war-ridden places around the world are suffering from economics and the financial situation without having any clue how to beat it. They don't know what to do to make their lives better. And they're receiving every day more news and more news about how more expensive stuff is becoming and about how more taxes they need to pay now to fund the wars and everything that's happening. It's happening here. It's happening, right next to me with my neighbors in Gaza, and finishing their lives, sometimes because of the consequences of the financial situation, but sometimes directly because of the wars and what they are bringing about. And since I came into Bitcoin a couple of years ago and started learning how you can really create your reality and a different alternative reality with a different type of money that will not force you to be violent or to take stuff off of people, and to actively contribute to the growth of this movement, you are becoming a better person, and you are discovering that your money is not in anyone else's hands but in your hands. And it's such an amazing power. And once people get that, they become so much more relaxed, and they drop
Absolutely,
they
but
drop the levels of violence very, very quickly, right?
yes, but I
And
believe
then
that the problem is there's a big gap on understanding the true originator factor of all those layers of
yes,
stupid nonsense that happened above it,
yes,
and create this all real factors.
problem,
They
yes,
find a lot of excuses, a lot of other stuff that is not real,
correct,
or it is real because of this manipulation of the base money, or this technology, which is the most important technology for human flourishing, which is money and the
yes,
exchange of value between
yes.
people. And they don't understand that all the other consequences happen because of this. It's a major gap in understanding. That's what we're here for. And in the end, that's what Free Madeira exists, and why all the other communities around the world exist. And we're just part of that big growing flower bouquet around the world that is
Exactly.
embracing more and more people every day.
Yeah, and I thank you for doing what you're doing, and this is why I've dedicated my life now to doing that, to educate people about the problems of the world, but then the solutions that there are out there, and speaking like with people like you and others can help me to educate them and try and overcome this gap, so that they understand the root cause, as you said, is oftentimes the money and the system and the way it's designed. And once you learn it and understand it, you can take action. So, this is why we're doing what we're doing. I'm going to be on a panel called Talking Heads with other people that are, reporters or podcasters. That's what they're doing. Essentially, they're teaching
Yes.
people how to go into this new world and why it's important to do it. There are going to be some amazing people with me on the panel: John Vallis, Nico Moran, Natalie Brunel, and myself. And I'm so privileged to be on that panel. So, if we can talk about how we can make a difference, not just in the sick media world today, but also in the education of people, and what it's going to bring about, that's going to be a fantastic conversation for me to be part of. So
It will, and thank you for coming.
yeah, my pleasure. And Andre, thank you so much for setting this up, for setting Free Madeira, for letting your plans start small and grow big, because then things like that happen. So thanks for doing
That's
all
how it
that.
happens in nature, right? It
Yes,
all starts with a little seed. So
if if it's if it's got the right true spark, then it grows,
yes.
it survives. And thank you so much for having that spark. Do you
My
want to
pleasure.
add anything? Normally, I finish with like a message of hope or anything else you want to add.
Well, I think this was a message of hope. This last,
Yes, correct.
um, you know, just an invite. Come to Madeira. Enjoy the week. Even if it's not for the conference, visit anyway another date. Madeira is a great place to have some vacations at least. But if you can come at the conference time, it's going to be a great week. Great conversations on the venue. I'm so excited
Me too.
Go to bitcoinatlantis.com. There's going to be more and more information there. We're going to publish the full schedule really soon.
Yep.
And yeah, come and visit.
Where
We'd
can
love to
people
have you.
find you, Andre, and follow you?
Well, I just use Twitter. You can find me at my name. I'm not very psyop oriented. That's a sheep long gone. It's just my name, André Loja, at André Loja. And you can follow both projects at Bitcoin Atlantis and at freemadeira.org. And we have the website and the newsletter and everything else. So it's really easy to reach out if you want to.
Super cool. Thank you so much for your time, Andre. It was such a lovely conversation to have.
Thank you, Efrat, and see you soon.
See you soon, dear.
In the year 2024, the sunken city of Atlantis will return. The first Bitcoin conference on the Atlantic Ocean. From March 1st to the 3rd, we are going to transform the stadium to a Bitcoin stadium. Jack Dorsey, Michael Saylor, Jack Mallers, and many more Bitcoiners are joining Bitcoin Atlantis.